So this funny thing happened when we were in New York City in our hotel room. We were back in the hotel resting our legs on one of the afternoons of the trip. I mean, we walked like 50 miles, the family walked like 50 miles over the course of 3.5 days or whatever that we were in New York. And so, you need to rest sometime. So anyways, I'm laying on the hotel room bed and I get this notification on my phone. It's from Facebook. I have their little app installed on my website so that I can use Facebook chat to communicate with people who are trying to find things on my website. Well, this is someone telling me that I should write an article on Chihuahua breeding and include a GIF of me twerking. Clearly a troll. Yeah. And I kind of laughed about it. And then I told my family about it and they laughed. And then I suggested that, hey, I could do an episode and include that in the title. Chihuahua breeding and a GIF of me twerking. And my son, especially, his teenage sense of humor, said, yeah, do it. You should do it. You should totally do it. So today I'm doing an episode that includes Chihuahua breeding and a GIF of me twerking in the title. And we're going to talk about trolls.
These are the proven direct response marketing, copywriting, and entrepreneurship success strategies you can use today to write your own ticket and create the life you want. I am Roy Furr, and this is Breakthrough Marketing Secrets. Now, here's today's breakthrough.
All right, if you are in business, if you are putting yourself out there in the public eye, you are going to deal with some trolls. And today's sponsor, which, is me as usual, but I'm going to link you to a specific training. Today's sponsor is Training Your Subconscious Success Mechanism. The link is in the description. Here's the thing. If you're out there and you are dealing with trolls, you need to have a strong sense of who you are. And you need to get rid of all of your subconscious toxins, all of that stuff that is going to get in the way of you actually being able to respond without being all caught up in whatever the troll is trying to get you to feel. And so check the link in the description to Training Your Subconscious Success Mechanism. One of the reasons that I put that in a training library about marketing and copywriting is because since we are in a public industry where our success often involves putting ourselves out there publicly, we have to be able to handle this stuff when it comes up. And it's far better to be able to handle it in a way where you're not just lost in the negative reaction versus getting pulled into the trolling. All right. So with that said, check the link in the description. Let's get into today's content. The way I see it, there's three big roles in online media: creators, consumers, and trolls. Creators, consumers, and trolls. And we can be more than one in any given moment. We can, switch between these different roles. I try not to be a troll very much, right? But I'm definitely a creator sometimes, and I am a consumer sometimes. And some of these roles reflect healthy behavior, and some are actually toxic. So let's get into each one of those. So number one, if you are in marketing, copywriting, entrepreneurship, business building, you should be a creator. You need to be putting content out into the world. You need to be creating value in the world. You need to be doing things. You need to be putting offers out. You need to be building an audience, a list of people who are interested in you. You need to attract first off, you attract attention of people who might be interested in the topics that you're going to talk about. But then you start to attract an audience, and that is people who are coming back to hear more from you. And as an entrepreneur, as a marketer, a copywriter, as somebody trying to launch your own business or part of other businesses, you need to do these things because all of this attention and this growing audience, that can be turned into sales. It can be turned into revenue. It can be turned into, leads and customers, right? So you leverage this creative process and this act of creating things and putting them out into the world, publishing or putting out offers. You leverage that into sales of your products and services, etc. And so your one important role of who you are, if you are trying to sell yourself or sell your products and services, is you do have to be a creator. And that also is going to make you end up intersecting with people who are being consumers and people who are being controls. So there are also consumers. Let's talk about consumers before we get to the trolls. This can include us sometimes. Right now, you are being a consumer and I am being a creator. And consumers don't exist without creators, and creators don't exist without consumers, right? You consume media, you consume advertisements, you buy things, you follow people or channels, you subscribe to emails, like you are consuming things. And that's, it's not a negative. It's actually a very positive thing. Great creators are usually also good consumers. The key here is that as a creator, as somebody who is creating value out in the world, you cannot spend all of your time consuming. I spend a lot of time consuming media. I try to fit it in with other things. So like when I'm doing the dishes, that's a great opportunity to listen to podcasts or listen to audiobooks or listen to training programs that I bought. Sometimes when I'm exercising, I'm listening to training that I went through. It's very infrequent that I let my consumption behavior take over my creative behavior. So when I have times dedicated to creativity, to creating value, to creating media, to creating things out in the world, I need to focus on that. And then the other times I can dedicate time to consumption, where I can start to integrate ideas. I can start to get new ideas. I can be inspired. I can, come at things from a new angle, whatever. But you want to limit the consumption so it doesn't take over the creative behavior. But you're going to do both things. Now, you should definitely not be a troll. There are, of course, trolls. I'm not the first one telling you that there are trolls on the internet. And in fact, in certain places, Facebook, there are people who just want to consume all your attention, want to consume, heck, any comment section of pretty much any place that creators put content, put value, there are going to be trolls. They're not a creator. They're not actually adding value to the conversation. They're not there to actually consume or to get value from the conversation. They may say, "Oh, yes, I am," but they're not. They really aren't. They're looking for every opportunity to interject and to derail any kind of value that is being created in that space. And frankly, if you are trolling, or if someone is trolling, that's toxic behavior. And what it usually comes from is from them being afraid, to put themselves out there, afraid of success, afraid of failure, afraid of rejection. And the attitude is nobody can reject me if I reject them first. And that comes from this place of this weak and fragile ego. There's no actual resilient self-confidence in it. There's no personal power in it. It comes from this place of being afraid of rejection, being afraid of failure, being afraid of, people, not liking them. And so the way that they handle it, as a troll, is they just attack everybody else. So that, of course, people are going to behave as you believe, so it shall be done unto you. If you start attacking everybody else, they're going to attack you back. And of course, that's going to fulfill this thing that, oh, these are terrible people, so I don't even need to be accepted by them. It's okay if I'm rejected by them. Versus the vulnerable act of putting yourself out there, the vulnerable act of creation, the vulnerable act of publishing. And so what happens? They attack others, right? And honestly, this Chihuahua breeding in a GIF of me twerking, it's the least of the trolls. It's actually a fun thing, right? It's silly. It's somebody being silly. They knew they were being silly. They were anonymous, right? They were just labeled as guest 4823 or whatever. But it's somebody who's just having fun, and they know it's not going to be taken seriously. And maybe that person is not so toxic. Maybe they're just feeling in a joking mood or whatever, and didn't want the Facebook little conversation widget to pop up. But some are much more aggressive. And what you find with the aggressive trolls is, for example, they'll use ad hominem attacks. And that means instead of attacking, for example, the content, or, instead of having a logical debate about the content, they will attack the person. Instead of having a conversation about whatever the topic of the content is, they will try to tear the person down. And they'll often use shame, which is questioning the person as opposed to questioning the content itself. And they're trying to make you feel terrible about yourself as a creator. And honestly, like, if you are a creator for any length of time, if you're trying to put value in the world, you're going to run into this. And these people, they are not trying to provide helpful feedback, even if they hide it under this guise of helpful feedback. They're trying to attack you. They're trying to shut you down. They're trying to make you feel terrible because they feel terrible about themselves. And seeing you be successful, seeing you be a good person, seeing you create value in the world, it makes them feel insecure about themselves. And some of them are going to hide behind a mask of like cockiness and confidence and, oh, I'm the greatest. But those people are just as weak, just as fragile, maybe more so, because they feel like they have to create this outer shell because their heart is not strong enough to deal with the possibility that somebody might not agree with them, that somebody might not like them. Heck, there are plenty of people who don't like me. There are plenty of people who don't agree with me. If you feel yourself trying to shut people out because they disagree with you, if you feel yourself, getting rid of people in your life that disagree with you, that means you are one of these weak egoed people. And a strong ego, a strong sense of self. Ego means sense of self, not like this pop culture, braggadocious person, right? Ego is a sense of self. A strong sense of self means you can surround yourself with people who disagree with you and you're going to be okay. It means you can put content and creations out into the world. And even if people don't like them, or even if trolls attack you, you're going to be okay. Versus this weak sense of self that requires you to go out and attack everybody else because you're being a toxic person. So how do you respond to these trolls? Number one, don't argue. They feed on argument. If you get emotionally wrapped up in their trolling, they win. Yes, you can be pissed. You can be pissed. Just don't get in a pissing match with the trolls. You can be upset, but do not engage with that troll from that place of negative energy. You can also get in on the joke. So my response to this Chihuahua person, this Chihuahua breeding, is I actually told him, hey, coming right up. And so I'm actually using this suggestion that was meant as a troll, right? It was like a gentle trolling, right? It was not nasty, but I decided to use it for good. You can also acknowledge the truth in what they say. There's this great book by Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference. And he's an FBI hostage negotiator. And so a lot of it is kind of about that. And there's a lot of stories in it. But he also just talks about how to get people on your side. And one of the ways that he suggests is something akin to the damaging admission. And that's where you say, oh, yeah, you're right. Like, there's this terrible thing about me. Like, oh, I clearly don't know what I'm talking about with regards to that particular subject. I had somebody a couple weeks ago on a YouTube video. I had unknowingly referenced a book title, a book that I hadn't read that was published in the 80s. And he was saying, clearly you don't know about that. And I'm like, you know what? Clearly I don't. I was not aware of that book. I was only aware of that concept as it had slipped into the pop culture awareness. And so I said, yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that book. All that I can represent in what I'm saying is that this is about what I know of the pop culture awareness. And it can actually sometimes, when you do that, lead to them defending you, lead to them like bringing it down a bit. So that's like acknowledging the truth in what they say, especially when it is negative. And that does require personal power. That does require you to be self-confident, to have a strong ego that's not shattered by every little rejection. But you can do that, and it will actually strengthen you. It will strengthen you to know that you can say something negative about yourself, and like that will increase your personal power. It will increase your strength of ego, your sense of self. the other thing you can do, the fourth thing that you can do in response to trolls is just ignore them. Just do your own thing. So, for example, with McDonald's, there's this classic, like, what are you going to do now that Burger King is copying you and Wendy's is copying you and all these other fast food joints are copying you? What are you going to do? And I think it was Ray Kroc that said this. He said, we just innovate faster than they can copy. And so if you are just focused on your own thing and you're focused on creating the value that you can create in the world, that can be one of the most powerful ways, because the trolls, if they don't get that feedback, if they don't get your engagement, they're going to move on somewhere else. And so if you can ignore them and just do your thing, just keep creating, just keep putting value out in the world, then you're going to find that it can be one of the most effective ways to deal with them that there is. Whatever you do, don't let trolls do this to you, though. Don't let trolls shut you down. Yes, listen to market feedback. For example, I have my Mailbox Monday episode where I am constantly getting people submitting questions to me. And that's a great way to get market feedback, to figure out the topics that I could cover more in my content. I also pay attention to the YouTube comments, and I try to get as much feedback as possible from that, right? I read my emails when people respond to my emails. I read that. But the one thing I'm not going to do is let them shut me down. Even if I get upset about something that somebody said, I'm not going to let them make me stop creating just because they feel, because in their weak and fragile ego state, they feel a need to attack me. No, I'm not going to let that shut me down. And you shouldn't either as a creator. And that can be really hard when you're brand new to this game of like creating things and putting them out into the world. And you start to develop resilience to it later, as you realize that, okay, just because one person is attacking you doesn't mean that you're terrible or anything, despite how they want you to feel. So you do need to listen to that feedback, but do not let them shut you down. The best thing that you can do is you can figure out what's their issue, what is the problem that's going on in their heads versus what's a real issue. And you'll quickly realize, if you try to evaluate, okay, what of this is just the troll's, fragile ego going on, and what of this is real feedback on something, going on in the marketplace. So if something comes up a bunch of times from a bunch of people and it's a consistent complaint, that's probably a real issue that you need to address. But what you'll quickly realize is that most of the negativity that you get, most of the toxicity that you get, is the issue of the person who is speaking it and has nothing to do with you. And in that case, like, one of the best things that you can do is say, hey, I'm not a fit for everybody. I appreciate you weighing in, or just ignore them, right? But say to yourself, if you don't say to them, I'm not a fit for everybody, and that is okay. And then when you truly internalize that on a subconscious level, then you will have incredible strength of ego, strength of sense of self, and personal power. And that will have all sorts of positive impacts on your copywriting, your marketing, your entrepreneurship, your life. Don't forget, there's that link in the description to training your subconscious success mechanism if you want practices to go deeper into this. Honestly, getting your subconscious working in alignment with your conscious is the root of all success. Having the strong, healthy, integrated ego, sense of self, having this personal power. This is what makes you successful. There's a reason that Tony Robbins resonates with everybody on such a high level. Not everybody, but so many people on such a high level. Because this essence of having a strong sense of self, having strong personal power, that is so impactful in your life. And one of the major ways that it's impactful is that as you develop this, it allows you to get rid of your own subconscious toxins, your own subconscious, like, not good enough, your shame, whatever. And those will never go away, but it allows you to, like, deal with them and recognize that, okay, they're not the whole truth, certainly. And then when other people come at you it won't bother you as much, because the times that it bothers you the most that someone is trolling you is because they're speaking to something that you have some level of subconscious agreement about. And so if you have some subconscious belief that says, I'm not good enough, my content is terrible, I shouldn't even be creating this content and putting it out into the world, and some troll comes along and says, you're not good enough, your content is terrible, you shouldn't even be putting it out into the world, it's not going to bug you because they said it. It's going to bug you because it taps into that subconscious belief about yourself. And if you're able to rewrite that belief to, I am good enough, I have value to create, my content absolutely needs to be put out into the world, then if they say that, it's not going to bug you. So when you do this, when you reorient your subconscious, you are going to be able to express your value in the world, and you're going to be able to orient yourself towards your automatic success behaviors. And that training on training your subconscious success mechanism is included with BTMSinsiders, which is like Netflix for copywriting and marketing training. So you pay one low fee, you get access to everything. And as you can tell, it includes growing yourself to be more successful in your roles as a copywriter, marketer, etc. And there will also be a link in the description to the All-Access Pass with that. So with that, I'm Roy Furr. This is Breakthrough Marketing Secrets. Every day and every episode, I'm here helping you increase your marketing genius, even when that is helping you increase your personal, your psychological genius, your genius in yourself and who you are, your inner genius. So I hope that I've done that in this episode, and I look forward to catching up with you next time.
Thank you once again for tuning in to this daily episode of Breakthrough Marketing Secrets. Remember, check out the links with this episode for even more value. Now make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, and engage in every way you can to keep this show going and growing and delivering daily value to you. I'll catch you soon for your next big breakthrough.